Hello everyone and welcome to Photo Finds. I'm your host, Gavin Hatch. This past week, Universal Orlando went ahead and started doing soft openings to the general public for its newest attraction, Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon. Now, this is something y'all know if you watch Photo Finds every week. I've been super excited to open up, and I am so happy with the final product, so I cannot wait to show you everything inside today. We will not show you the actual ride itself, though. No on-ride footage will be shown, but I will show you everything else, though, when it comes to the pre-show experience. Now, let's start outside here. This is the entrance to Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon. It looks just like the entrance to of course, there's no large cutout of Jimmy Fallon in New York City, but this does look very similar to 30 Rock, where you would enter if you were going to the taping of The Tonight Show in New York City. Now, as you come through, you'll see the wait time sign does state it's 45 minutes. The lowest time this wait will be is 30 minutes because there's no actual queue, so you're not standing in line. You're doing other things inside the building, such as enjoying the museum on the first floor, and then there's a lounge area with entertainment on the second floor, which we will get to, but it's always going to have at least a 30-minute wait, and you kind of just help yourself and walk around and browse the lounge area and also the museum downstairs as you wait for the attraction. Now, as you're coming in, you'll see there is a long hallway when you first walk in before you get to the reception desk, and this long hallway it's all very shiny. It's black, but it's very shiny, kind of marble-looking walls, and you will see that there is a whole bunch of logos. It's the history of NBC and their logo throughout the years. You start with the one back early before they were even on television, when it was strictly just radio, and then of course, throughout the years they went to and advanced to television, the logo did change, and the logo has changed over the years. That's on the left side of the wall. On the right side of the wall, you'll see that there are huge picture cutouts with the logos to the old logos to some other classic television shows that NBC has part of their programming, such as the Today Show, which comes on every morning on the weekdays. And then you also have Saturday Night Live, which is very, very popular. Has been around for such a long time, even though it only comes on once a week on NBC. And as you walk through here, through this hallway, it's really cool. There's plenty of room, so if you want to stop and take a photo with a picture, you can definitely do that. Now, after you go through the hallway, you will come into the very first area of the attraction, the virtual line, I should say, and a team member will greet you at this receptionist desk area, and you will receive from a team member a little card here. And the card each card's different, so you might be given a green one, a purple one, orange, yellow, red. It's all from the colors of the peacock, from the logo, of course, from NBC. So you'll receive a color, and so you always want to make sure you come with your group in case your group comes in later on. They might get a different color, so you might not be able to ride together. So make sure your group is always together when you're coming in. So you'll get a color, and we received the green color, and you hang out downstairs in this first floor area until your color is called, and then you go upstairs to the second area and wait a little bit longer, and then you can ride. So the colors changed, and there are different LED lights, and the NBC chime will go off to let you know that there is a color change, and of course you hope that it's your color. And we'll talk more about that, but first let's talk about this area down here. The receptionist desk area has a really cool display case. It's kind of like a museum. It's not really a lounge. It's more like the history of The Tonight Show and a little bit history of NBC. Down here on the first floor, there are some posters that show and represent some of the newest television shows on NBC right now. So I'm sure throughout the years and throughout the months, they will change that, or I should say throughout the seasons, they will go ahead and change these show posters here. On the other side, across from those posters, you have a display case that has really cool stuff in here, like and these are all actual props. These aren't recreations of things, so these are actual cameras that were used back in the day at NBC studios, either in 30 Rock or maybe their studios in California, Universal Studios possibly. So it doesn't give you a description of every single thing, but it is all authentic stuff, so you don't have recreations here, and it's just really interesting. And I'm a history buff, as y'all might already know, and I love museums. And I love things like this, so this is really interesting, and it's cool to be able to look at this kind of stuff without standing in a single file line and worrying about people cutting you, so you can really enjoy this while you're waiting for the attraction. So it's really a great system, and I'm sure we'll see all other attractions, not just Universal, but expand over the years and trying to transform into doing something similar to this, because it works. It's a great thing, and you'll see even more how cool this is. Now, this is just a display case here. You'll pass that, and then there is a larger room, and the room does have more display cases. Now, these display cases are more teaching about the history of The Tonight Show itself and the different hosts that have hosted The Tonight Show throughout the years. On the left-hand side, you'll see the display cases for the first two hosts. You have Steve Allen and Jack Parr, and they're not very big. They don't have a whole lot inside their display cases because they didn't host it for very long. Also, it was a long time ago, so I'm sure they had a hard time finding actual artifacts from, the set or just from the show itself. But there are some interesting things in here. I love how they put a TV in each display case that does have footage of them doing their stand-up monologue at the beginning of the show, and the TVs themselves are to represent the era that they're from. So you have one from the early 50s and you have one from the late 50s, early 60s, in these two display cases here. And so you kind of get a visual of seeing them actually doing something if you haven't seen it before. And they also have plenty of pictures, and there is also a ticket in most of these display cases, if not all of them. I can't remember exactly, but they have a actual ticket, and I have one for the Jay Leno show. I'll show you that picture, but actual ticket of the Tonight Show taping, so a ticket you'd have to have if you were going to go to the broadcast of one of these shows, which is really cool. Now, on the other side, you have, after Jack Parr, there was Johnny Carson, who's done it the longest, who has hosted this show for the longest period of time. He hosted for over 30 years, and it's a big display case. It has a TV as well, showing him doing some of his famous monologue. He did lots of sketches on his show, and there are big pictures of him in different characters that he portrayed on the show itself. And then there are also there's I don't know, it's probably this actual one, a Golden Globe there, and there's again tickets from the actual taping of the show that a guest probably had or donated, or NBC went ahead and kept for their archives and now has brought here to Universal Orlando. So really cool stuff. The next host was, of course, Jay Leno, and Jay Leno hosted it for quite some time as well. So he has a big display case. The TV that he's on, that they have in his display case, is so funny because I'm sure we still have, maybe some of you, or we know someone who still has a TV from like late 90s, early 2000s, and it's a flat screen, silver, but not a true flat screen TV yet that we now have that can hang up on walls very easily. It's just really interesting, kind of nostalgic. There's also tickets from his show, and then there's also some copies of Time Magazine, which is neat. So you can see some actual Time Magazine when he was on the cover of Time Magazine, because The Tonight Show, when it comes to The Tonight Show, and also David Letterman hosted his show, The Late Show, those were always competing. They were always on at the same time. So you either watching one or the other or flipping back and forth. And The Tonight Show always had #1 in ratings. And it was a very popular show. And Jay Leno did a good job, but then he retired, and then we had Conan O'Brien take over. Now, Conan O'Brien took over in 2009, and he was on the air for only 6 months. They actually did his show back in LA in Universal Studios. They built a soundstage for him, and he loved doing it. It was his dream, and I absolutely loved him doing it. He was my favorite host, and it's so interesting because then Jay Leno decided to come out of retirement and came back. And so you'll see on Jay Leno's, next to his name, the years that he hosted, it does show that he came back from 2010 to 2014. So he did it for 4 more years, and then he finally decided to retire for good and give the Tonight Show over to Jimmy Fallon, who at the time was hosting Late Night. So he was next in line to get the show. And Jimmy Fallon's display case is the very last one you'll see. It's kind of in the center of the room, so it's not against the walls, and it's just prominently placed there, and it's got a lot of cool stuff to look at as well. I didn't get a good look at it because it's very crowded in there. That's the only downside to this, is that you have a lot of guests kind of sitting down, enjoying the air conditioning and getting out of the sun while they're waiting, and they're on their phones, and there's charging stations, not charging stations, but there's plug-ins, so you can plug in your phone, but people are kind of leaning up against the glass, so you kind of awkwardly hover over them if you want to get up close and look and see what's inside these display cases. But I don't think there's anything that really you can do about that. It's just, people are going to sit there and enjoy it. Now, once your color is called, the lights again will change colors, and the NBC chime will go off, and then it's time for you to go ahead and go upstairs. Now, you'll go upstairs, and these are beautiful staircases. If you are in a wheelchair or don't want to use stairs, you are more than welcome to use the elevators, which is right next to it. And I think this is a really cool thing. I took a picture of this. This is a huge picture here of all the hosts throughout the years, and it's black and white, and it says The Tonight Show, and it's I love this. This is something I hope that Universal might someday put into like a good size poster that you can sell, or that they can sell and you can buy in the gift store. That would be really cool. I'd love to purchase this and have this in my office somewhere. It's just a really cool thing. So you'll go upstairs, and it's not a big staircase, but it's really it's not too crowded. When everyone goes, it's not, you're not being trampled over. But you go upstairs, and it's really neat because then you feel like you're overlooking the city and you're in 30 Rock, and they have the Race to New York Tonight Show logo there, and they have portraits, or I should say pictures, of different areas, famous areas of the city of New York City, and it's just a really nice area. And you keep walking on through, and you will in the distance see a stage, and if there's no performers out there, there's a giant screen, so you'll see videos, lots of funny clips from the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon hosting, of course. And now from this point on, it's only about Jimmy Fallon and the Tonight Show that he's hosted. So it's only just clips of him, and you can hear it, and it's pretty loud, but it's still, you can hear what's going on as far as the media that's being shown, or the performers when they're performing. You can easily hear them. They have them mic'd, and there are speakers all throughout the upstairs area. To your right hand side, there are chairs, they're couches, I should say. There's not enough to seat everyone, so you will probably have to wait around for someone that's being called, their next color that's being called. If it's not yours, once they get up and leave, you can take their spot, and that's what Patrick and I were able to do. You sit down, if you're lucky enough, you can get in front of one of these screens here that is, it looks like a coffee table, but it does have a giant LED screen inside it, and you can go ahead and touch it, and it's a touch screen that has all kinds of cool stuff. You have games, you have thank you notes, and you have videos, so you can watch different clips from the Tonight Show, funny clips and stuff that they're also showing as you're waiting in the queue. Or queue area, I should say. And then you also have the games. There's different games. There's 4 different games to choose from. And then they also, those thank you notes, it's kind of cool because they have actual thank you notes from like the show. And then they have thank you notes that are related just to theme parks for Universal Orlando. And it's pretty funny how they have one that talks about Express. They have one that talks about people jumping or cutting in line. And it's really cool. You can email these to whoever you want, and then they'll get the next day. So it's kind of fun that you can send those virtual postcards out to family or friends, and if they are a big fan of the Tonight Show, I'm sure they'll get a kick out of it, because the thank you notes bit that he does every Friday is very popular and very funny. So I love how they integrated this, and you can also buy those thank you notes in a gift shop downstairs, which is even better. But yes, you can play clips and games, all kinds of cool things on here. I like the card game, the matching game, where you can do different matches and there's pictures from different famous moments of the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Now, a lot of people are really excited about this and really have been enjoying the entertainment upstairs. When you go upstairs, not only do you have areas to sit down and play games and stuff and do those, but you can go forward and go deeper into the upstairs area, and there is a stage area that kind of resembles the one that you see on the Tonight Show set in New York City, and they have the quartet, and they have hashtag the panda. Now, I didn't get any video of hashtag the panda coming out and doing a bit, but apparently it's funny. I've heard it going on. I didn't get any video of it though, but if you're a fan of hashtag the panda, you can do kind of meet and greet, take photos with him, because he does walk around throughout the area upstairs, and it's pretty hilarious, and it's just neat. Everyone, I didn't see anyone standing around really bored and wanting to, get on to the attraction and saying, when's this going to end? How long are we going to be up here? Because we were waiting up there for a good 30 to 45 minutes, but it didn't feel like it, and there's plenty to do and keep you occupied, and it seemed like everyone was really enjoying it. So it is an interesting way of queuing, and I didn't see any problem with people being able to sit down. People were able to sit down as long as you're, of course, not in anyone's way, but if you're along the walls or sides, you can sit down, and there should be no issue with team members coming over telling you to stand up and remain standing. The Ragtime Gals are really interesting and a lot of fun to watch, because you have all these different vocalists, and they are doing a great job at doing a classic rendition of top 40 songs, popular songs that are out today that we know. So they're not singing any old tunes. It's all stuff that, they even do a rap battle, which is really fun. They do a lip sync battle, which is hilarious, and it's just really entertaining and makes the time fly by. And it's interesting because they come out, they'll be out there for 4 to 5 minutes, and then they go backstage, they show some more clips on the giant screens, and then they'll come back out. So they take 5-minute breaks, and then I'm sure throughout the day they have the cast changing out, so you have different members of the Ragtime Gals coming out, so it is different each time. Possibly if you're writing this, we saw a different group when we came back and wrote a second time. We did write it twice that evening. But after the entertainment's done, or as the entertainment's going on, I should say, they are still calling colors. So when your color is called, all these LED lights upstairs change colors, so you know easily that, hey, your color is ready to go. So when it turned green, we were able to go ahead and continue moving towards what they call the studio entrance. Now, the studio entrance, it's a very small area queue. If you're familiar with the Forbidden Journey, it's kind of like the very final stretch there before you get onto your ride vehicle on the Forbidden Journey. It's kind of set up the same way, where you go, give them your color card, and then you're going to go through the queue area, and you're not there for very long at all. That's where you pick up your goggles, and it's really interesting. I guess a lot of people don't realize this, but if you've been to the Tonight Show taping in New York City, the studio entrance inside 30 Rock looks just like the one here. So you go through, you grab your goggles, and they are very similar to they're the same ones that you use on Despicable Me as well as Transformers 3D The Ride. And after you grab your goggles, they still are playing clips in the queue as well, so you're able to watch some more funny clips from the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. But then you come to the kind of grouper area where there's two theaters, but here they are calling it stage left and stage right, but essentially it is two separate theaters. Right now, as soft openings are going on, they are only running one side. So when this attraction does officially open, I'm sure after the hype is it's been open for a while, the capacity, you won't be waiting very long in these areas, these lounge areas, and you'll be able to get on much faster just because they'll have two theaters going. But we are running only stage left right now, so you go to stage left, which is one of the theaters, and there's a pre-show room. And the pre-show, I did not record the pre-show, but it is here on the attractions channel, so you can watch the whole thing there and get more video if you want to see more video of the whole queue experience. But the pre-show is pretty hilarious, and it really pumps you up. And they have the intro from the show, and they act like you're the host. And Sarah, with no H, is there from Ooh, with her stepdad Gary, which is hilarious. And I love how they have the stage doors there. They have the safety warnings on the wall, but they also have these NBC logos in the ground, and they're really nice. It tells you stop there. So this is kind of where we're going to stop, because again, from this point on, you get onto the attraction. And the attraction itself, I know a lot of people are being critical of it and saying, it's not the most advanced technology in the world. They are not doing anything super new that they haven't done before. But when it comes to like the screen, because it is a 3D screen, the screen is huge, the audio is great, the visuals are great. I have been on it myself 4 times now, and every time I ride it, I notice something different each time I ride it. It's kind of like that Haunted Mansion effect, where you have to ride it multiple times and you see something different every time. And that's what I feel like this attraction's like. So I enjoy that. And it's something that really almost the whole family can do, and it's not going to make you sick, and it's funny, and it really stays true to what the Tonight Show and what Jimmy Fallon and his humor is, and it's great. It's a great addition, and I also really enjoy it because I feel like this attraction it's like the classic Universal attractions, where you feel like you're on a set, you feel like you're a part of filming something, it's not just reliving a story and you're in the middle of it, you are part of an actual production of a television show, and that's what the studios were all about back when it opened up in the 90s. It kind of reminds me of Murder, She Wrote. This is what this attraction kind of reminds me of course, that on steroids. It's a lot bigger, a lot more grand, and a lot more fun. It's more of a ride, but it is a great thing, and I highly recommend it next time you guys are out there at Universal Studios Florida. And I always highly recommend doing a soft opening if you can, because things change, and it will be different. You'll see things change between now and when it actually opens on April 6th. Opening day, things get tweaked. So that's what technical rehearsals are all about. It's not always guaranteed that will be open, but if you have the chance to go in there and do it, and then come back and do it again after it's finally opened and officially opened, you might see something that you didn't see before, that wasn't there, that they changed or took away or improved. So I do recommend doing this if you have the chance to do so. In the comments below, I want you to tell me what your feedback is. If you've been able to go out there and do the soft openings, tell us your honest opinion, what you thought about it, the pros and cons, if there are any cons with it. Tell us what your favorite Tonight Show host is. If you've been watching the Tonight Show for years, if you have a favorite host, tell us what that is as well in the comments below, and let's continue the discussion that we talked about today here on Photo Finds. I thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Attractions Magazine, and until next week, get out, have fun, and enjoy those parks.